Hello, I'm Super Orange Cat here today with a new video talking about Toonami's ratings from this past Saturday, April 23rd, 2022. At the top of the block, we have Shenmue at a 0.12, Attack on Titan at a 0.11, The Assassination Classroom at a 0.09, Lupin the Third Part 6 at a 0.08, One Piece, the doubleheader at a 0.08, followed by another 0.08, Naruto Shippuden at a 0.05, and Cowboy Bebop at a 0.04. Ultimately, this was actually a pretty decent week for the block on Toonami. I know I kept talking about my threshold for the top of the block being a 0.12, and that is exactly what Shenmue got. So Shenmue ultimately, ratings-wise, had a good week in its penultimate episode with the season finale. And with talks that it's probably going to get multiple seasons, the season 1 finale airing this next Saturday night at midnight. Then you have Attack on Titan, which had a pretty bad week last week, did a poor job of retaining Shenmue, but this week did much better at that 0.11. Again, we're getting towards the end of part 2 of the final season out of 3 parts, or at least 3 parts. That episode, the finale of the second part of the final season, will air next Saturday as well. And more on that in a moment. Assassination Classroom holds firm at that 0.09, same as last week. However, considering it was a multiple 100s drop from the show in front of it, right now that kind of looks to be one of the sore spots to block. And again, Assassination Classroom is really never really been a sore spot on Toonami. It typically gets some of the better ratings, or at least it's got very solid retention. And then after that, you have Lupin the Third at a 0.08, which I'm kind of surprised it's hanging that high, because Lupin the Third has definitely had a reputation of having a very small, devoted fan base. Emphasis on small. So usually it gets poor ratings and it ultimately gets shuffled back to be the last to premiere of the block. Part 5 had that issue. Part 5, I think, debuted at like 1:30 and then eventually got pushed back to 3:30 for the last like 20 episodes of it. And then after that, you get One Piece, actually with a decent week. One Piece very historically has always been one of the sore spots in terms of ratings for Toonami. This week it retains, and actually, if you go into the hundreds, it actually built. The first and second episode of this doubleheader built on Lupin the Third Part 6. So maybe you can say Lupin the Third Part 6 is already having a bit of a dismal performance if it's being built on by One Piece at this point. And then you have Naruto and Cowboy Bebop virtually getting the same numbers they had last week. Not much to talk about there. Cowboy Bebop is actually getting towards the end of their run also. I think in 2-3 weeks that slot comes up. And that's another question. Along with Shenmue and Attack on Titan, this is the next upcoming Saturday, April 30th, will be the season finales for both shows, which raises the question of what's Toonami going to do to replace them. I've seen some speculation online. Something people are talking about is for some reason people still talk about Jujutsu Kaisen, even though I think that's long gone at this point. Other than that, I've heard some people talk about Made in Abyss Season 2. I don't think that's ready yet, and even so, I think it's a good bet we do not get Made in Abyss Season 2 on Toonami for 2 reasons. One, the movie, The Dawn of the Deep Soul, Dawn of the Deep Soul, I think it's called, is actually canon. It's not like My Hero Academia, where outside of one episode promoting it once in a while, you can just skip the movies and you'd still understand what the plot of the show is. It's not mandatory. And from what I've been told, I haven't watched it myself, that is not the case. Made in Abyss, you actually have to watch the movie for season 2 to make sense, or as a starting place for season 2. And again, Toonami, barring circumstances, rarely gets movies. It definitely rarely gets anime movies. Top of my head, the last anime, I'm not talking DC movie, we've got on the block might have been Mind Game back with the April Fool's prank in 2018. So the odds of getting that are pretty slim. And again, I think this is with Made in Abyss. The Made in Abyss is kind of started to pick up a little more steam, partially because it's a free run on Toonami, and partially because of this talk of season 2. And I think it might become too big a name for Toonami. Because again, we're not getting Demon Slayer season 2. That's not going to happen on Toonami. We didn't get JoJo Part 6 Stone Ocean. But that's another thing about how Netflix is doing it, how a lot of people are angry how Netflix is handling it. And people are surprised that Netflix, who is well known for bombing shows, literally they would post the entire season of a show at the same time, would have big breaks in between airing episodes of Stone Ocean. The fact that people are surprised about that's just kind of hilarious because that's one of the most well-known things about Netflix. They bomb shows like that. But I digress. This is no longer about the video. So going on to that, and again, Made in Abyss season 2. I don't think we get that. I don't think Jujutsu Kaisen. I've seen some people talk about Megalobox season 2. That's possible. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't get it. We had season 1 on the block 3 years ago. I could see it appearing. And again, what I would look to is series that are kind of old, but not that old. Like, I remember, like, Assassination Classroom was like 4 years old as an anime before it got on. Made in Abyss about 4 years old before we got on Toonami. Look to shows, anime that debuted, let's say somewhere between 2016 to 2019, and shows that Toonami didn't air that wouldn't seem far-fetched for Toonami to air, that possibly appear on the block. For example, first thing I could think of top of my head that wouldn't be impossible would be something like Tiger and Bunny. That's the first show I could think of that would make sense for Toonami maybe to have. Like, we had Megalobox, Tiger and Bunny's fair game. I could definitely see that being a thing. And that's just me tossing out one show name. It can really be anything at this point, but I would say expect the unexpected, and especially if it's a lower name, something that's not a big name, I would expect that show to be later in the block. And right now, I'm looking at these shows. The only show I can say with any confidence could lead off the block is maybe Assassination Classroom. And that's still a little shaky. I could see Assassination Classroom holding on to maybe a Rick and Morty audience, which I think Rick and Morty is still the show right before Toonami on Saturday nights. And that remains me seeing. And another kind of scary thing, and I thought about making this a whole news update, but this is something I want to talk about briefly. As you might know, Warner Media is no longer in Warner Media. It merged with Discovery, so now it's called Warner Brothers Discovery. And if you've noticed, with mergers, you get a lot of these high level people getting their golden parachute off. And I noticed that a disproportionate amount of the people leaving with golden parachutes, these high level corporate execs, were people on the Warner Media side, which is kind of scary if you're an employee or someone who really has an interest in stuff that Warner Media has, like Adult Swim slash Toonami. That's under Warner Media's umbrella, or now the Warner Brothers Discovery umbrella. And also the fact that earlier today there was an announcement that TBS and TNT will no longer be making scripted programming. So it remains to be seen what this means for Toonami. But I mean, what do you guys think? Leave your comments, leave your opinions down below. I'm Orange Cat, and that is all.